Major Kate Mitchell had attended enough diplomatic functions to know that punching an alien dignitary was generally frowned upon. Yet here she stood, her knuckles stinging and a peculiar violet gel dripping from her fist, while the Zalaxian ambassador's facial membrane slowly reformed itself. The grand reception hall of the Galactic Confederation Embassy fell silent. The floating crystalline chandeliers seemed to dim, as if even they were holding their breath. Hundreds of aliens, some humanoid, others decidedly not, stared at the scene unfolding before them. How wonderfully primitive, the ambassador burbled through his reconstructing face, his tone carrying that familiar patronizing note that had driven Kate to snap in the first place. You see, colleagues, this is exactly what I was explaining about their charming reliance on physical responses. Kate flexed her fingers, fighting the urge to demonstrate more physical responses. 6 hours of subtle jabs about humanity's evolutionary shortcomings had finally pushed her over the edge. The last straw had been this clinical dissection of human emotion as an unfortunate biological handicap. "Ambassador," she said, keeping her voice steady, "where I come from, insulting someone's entire species to their face is considered rather primitive itself." A ripple of murmurs swept through the assembled dignitaries. The Methulian representative, a being of living crystal, chimed in harmonic disapproval. The Vortexians, who existed primarily as swirling clouds of intelligent gas, condensed themselves in shock. Captain James Rodriguez, Kate's superior officer, pushed through the crowd. His face carried the unique expression of someone who had just watched their career implode spectacularly. "Major Mitchell," he hissed, "what have you done?" Before Kate could respond, High Counselor Zixis glided forward, her bioluminescent robes pulsing with what humans had learned to recognize as curiosity. "Indeed, what has she done?" "She has provided us with a fascinating demonstration of human unpredictability." "Counselor," Kate began, but Zixis raised one of her 4 hands. "In the 300 cycles since the Confederation embraced total logic and emotional suppression, no one has dared to strike a diplomatic representative." Zixis's secondary eyes blinked in sequence. "It's rather refreshing." The ambassador's face had fully reformed, though it now sported an interesting purple bruise. "Counselor, you cannot be suggesting that this display of barbarism is somehow admirable." "What I find admirable, Ambassador, is that Major Mitchell endured 6 hours of your thinly veiled insults before responding. Most species would have reacted much sooner." Zixis turned all 4 sets of eyes toward Kate. "Though perhaps next time, Major, you might consider using words before fists." Kate straightened her dress uniform. "With respect, Counselor, I did." For 6 hours, the ambassador seemed unconvinced by our primitive capacity for rational discourse. A sound like wind chimes echoed through the hall, the equivalent of laughter from the crystalline beings. Even some of the Vortexians swirled in what seemed to be amusement. "You see," the ambassador protested, his surface rippling indignantly. "They make light of violence. This is exactly why humans cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Their emotional instability led them to develop faster than light travel while still using organic brains." Zixis interrupted. "Created art that moves even the most logic-driven species to experience emotion. Built a thriving civilization without surrendering their capacity to feel." She glided closer to Kate. "Perhaps, Ambassador, we have become too rigid in our definition of advancement." Kate felt the weight of hundreds of alien gazes. In that moment, she realized she might have accidentally started something far bigger than a diplomatic incident. The Confederation's perfect, logical world had just received its first crack. Captain Rodriguez cleared his throat. "Nevertheless, Major Mitchell's actions require celebration," Zixis declared, her robes flashing with decisive patterns. "It has been far too long since these halls witnessed genuine passion. Major Mitchell will face no sanctions." She turned to address the crowd. "Let this serve as a reminder that advancement comes in many forms, not all of them comfortable or familiar." As the reception gradually resumed, Kate caught fragments of conversations around her. Species that had looked down on humans for decades were suddenly discussing them with new interest. The ambassador sulked in a corner, his surface churning with embarrassment. "Major," Rodriguez whispered, "next time you feel the need to create an interstellar incident, please give me some warning." Kate smiled. "With respect, sir, that wouldn't be very primitive of me." The Confederation's central archives towered above Kate like a mountain of liquid metal, its quantum crystalline walls shifting and flowing with streams of data. 3 weeks after the diplomatic incident, she found herself deep in its restricted sections, chasing a hunch that wouldn't let her sleep. "Access denied," chimed the AI interface for the 4th time. "Your species classification does not permit." "Override Protocol Earth 7 Delta," Kate interrupted, using the emergency access codes High Counselor Zixis had quietly provided. "Authorization. Mitchell, Catherine E. Major." The interface hummed disapprovingly, but yielded. Holographic displays materialized around her, showing star charts of the galactic core. Kate's eyes narrowed as she spotted familiar patterns the Confederation's advanced AI somehow kept missing. "Burning the midnight oil, Major." Kate spun around to find Dr. Marcus Webb, Earth's synorchaeologist, emerging from between the shifting walls. His rumpled appearance suggested he'd also been burning more than midnight oil. "Marcus, didn't expect anyone else to be crazy enough to be here at this hour." He grinned, pushing his glasses up his nose. "Crazy is believing the galaxy's most advanced civilization might be missing something obvious. Speaking of which," he pulled out a data crystal. "Remember those energy signatures I was tracking near the core worlds?" Kate's heart rate quickened. "The ones the Confederation says don't exist." "Look at this." Marcus projected a series of readings. "Conventional quantum sensors show nothing, but when I recalibrated to scan for old-fashioned electromagnetic disturbances, new patterns emerged, eerily similar to the ones Kate had been studying." "They're hiding in plain sight," Kate breathed, "using the gap between quantum and classical physics." "Precisely. The Confederation's so focused on quantum technology, they'd forgotten the basics. But here's the terrifying part." Marcus pulled up another projection. "These energy patterns, they're expanding, and everywhere they appear." "Colonies go dark," Kate finished. She'd been tracking the disappearances for months. Officially, they were listed as technical malfunctions or migration events. But the pattern was too precise, too methodical. A soft chime echoed through the archives. Kate and Marcus froze as footsteps approached. Not the gliding movement of most Confederation species, but the deliberate stride of military boots. "Hide," Kate hissed, pushing Marcus behind a data column. She turned to face whatever was coming. Commander Vex of Confederation Security rounded the corner, his cybernetic enhancements glinting in the dim light. "Major Mitchell, this is an unusual hour for research." "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd brush up on Confederation history." Kate kept her voice casual, though her muscles tensed for action. "How dedicated." Vex's artificial eyes wared as they focused on her. "Though I find it curious that a human would access classified files about the Archean sector." "Just following my primitive instincts," Kate said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "They've served us well so far." "Indeed." Vex stepped closer. "Like your instinct to collaborate with Dr. Webb, I can detect his biochemical signature, Major. Please don't insult my enhancements." Marcus emerged from hiding, hands raised. "It's my fault, Commander. I dragged her into this." "No one dragged me anywhere," Kate interrupted. "We found something you need to see. The Archons aren't myths. They're real, and they're using our blind spots against us." Vex was silent for a long moment. "Show me," he finally said. Kate and Marcus shared a look before projecting their combined findings. The evidence was circumstantial but compelling. A pattern of disappearances stretching back centuries, energy signatures hidden between quantum states, and a steadily advancing front of darkness approaching Confederation space. "If this reaches the Council," Vex said quietly, "it will cause panic." "If it doesn't," Kate countered, there might not be a council left to panic. The commander's cybernetic eyes cycled through scanning patterns. You realize the diplomatic consequences of humans discovering what our best systems missed. With respect, Commander, Kate said, I'm more concerned about the consequences of ignoring it. My primitive human gut says we're running out of time. As if in answer, the archive's lights flickered. In the quantum crystalline walls, for just a moment, shadows moved where no shadows should exist. Perhaps, Vex said slowly, it's time the Confederation learned to trust primitive instincts. The Confederation's emergency council chamber erupted in chaos as the holographic displays winked out one by one. Each disappearing light represented another colony, another world, another civilization going silent. Kate stood at the center of the storm, watching the galaxy she tried to warn them about crumble into darkness. The quantum defense grid has failed, announced a Methulian representative, their crystalline form vibrating with distress. All networks are compromised. High Counselor Zixus's bioluminescent robes had dimmed to a dull gray. How? Our systems were perfect. Perfect is predictable, Kate interjected, her voice cutting through the panic. And predictable is vulnerable. She pulled out an old Earth military tablet, its screen glowing steadily while the advanced alien displays flickered and died. The Archons didn't just attack our defenses, they turned them against us. Commander Vex's cybernetic eyes struggled to maintain focus as quantum interference disrupted his enhancements. 47 core worlds have gone dark. The Archons are using our own quantum networks as a pathway for their assault. Then we sever the networks, Kate declared, earning shocked gasps from the assembled delegates. Impossible. The Zalaxian ambassador's surface rippled with horror. Our entire civilization depends on quantum connectivity. Without it, we'd be like us primitive humans. Kate's smile was sharp. The same humans who still maintain independent planetary defense systems, who never fully integrated into your quantum network because you said we weren't advanced enough. Before anyone could respond, the chamber's emergency lights flashed red. Dr. Marcus Webb's voice crackled through Kate's tablet, using old-fashioned radio waves. Major, we've got incoming. Massive energy signatures approaching the Council world. The floor trembled as distant defense stations began to fall. Through the chamber's transparent ceiling, they watched in horror as the stars themselves seemed to blur and twist. Get everyone to the bunkers, Kate ordered, already moving. Earth Protocol is in effect. Earth Protocol. Zixus glided beside her as they evacuated. You prepared for this. We've been preparing since you first dismissed our warnings. Kate led them through corridors rapidly emptying of panicked officials. Humanity never forgot how to fight without quantum tech. Sometimes being primitive means being prepared. They reached a heavily shielded chamber deep beneath the council buildings. Inside, to the aliens' surprise, they found a fully equipped command center running on Earth technology. Analog displays showed clear readings where quantum sensors saw only static. Radio communications crackled with reports from human ships already moving to defensive positions. The Stellar Guard is blind, Vex reported, his cybernetics finally stabilizing in the shielded room. Our fleet is scattered, unable to coordinate. Then it's time to do things the human way. Kate activated a bank of old-style communication consoles. This is Major Mitchell to all Earth Defense Force vessels. Execute Operation Blackout. Across the galaxy, human ships began powering down their quantum systems, switching to traditional propulsion and targeting. While the Confederation's advanced vessels drifted in confusion, Earth's primitive fleet moved with purpose. Remarkable, Zixus whispered, watching the tactical displays. Your ships are actually functional. More than functional, Kate replied as reports streamed in. We're the only ones who can still fight. The Archons expected to face your perfect quantum defenses. Instead, they're running into technology so old it's new to them. The chamber shuddered as something massive passed overhead. On the displays, they watched dark shapes moving through violated quantum space, only visible on the analog sensors. Multiple Archon vessels approaching, Marcus reported from his station. Energy signatures suggest they're preparing to. The world exploded in light. When the glare faded, half the city above them had vanished, transformed into a quantum singularity. But in the darkness, human ships were moving, their conventional weapons blazing with unexpected effectiveness against enemies who'd forgotten how to defend against physical attacks. "We need to evacuate the Council," Kate announced, already formulating plans. "Earth's lunar base is shielded against quantum interference. We can establish a temporary government there." "You want us to retreat to your moon?" The ambassador's tone had lost all trace of condescension. "To hide in a primitive bunker." "No," Kate corrected, watching as more human ships arrive, their old-school nuclear drives burning bright against the darkness. "I want you to survive." "Sometimes, Ambassador, primitive is exactly what you need to be." Above them, Earth's outdated fleet engaged the Archons in a battle that would redefine the meaning of advancement. The stars might have gone dark, but humanity's light still burned. Earth's lunar base wasn't built for luxury. The Confederation delegates, accustomed to their quantum-crafted palaces, found themselves cramped in utilitarian corridors designed for function over comfort. Yet none complained, not anymore. Not after watching their perfect society crumble in hours. Kate stood before a hastily assembled war council, her uniform stained with smoke from the evacuation. The chamber's harsh fluorescent lighting cast sharp shadows across faces both human and alien. "The Archons have taken 17 more systems," she reported, gesturing to a traditional star map projected on the wall. "But we've confirmed survivors on Proxima Beta. The colony's still fighting." "Impossible," the Zalaxian ambassador interjected, though his usual condescension had been replaced by confusion. "Proxima Beta fell 3 days ago. Our quantum scans showed total population loss." "Quantum scans don't show everything, Ambassador." Kate nodded to Dr. Marcus Webb, who pulled up grainy footage from the colony. "The survivors went underground. Literally. They're using the old mining tunnels, fighting with improvised weapons and surplus Earth equipment. No quantum tech means the Archons can't track them." High Counselor Zixis studied the footage, her robes flickering with renewed hope. "They're adapting. Like humans." "Exactly." Kate activated another display, showing tactical overlays of recent battles. The Archons expect perfect, predictable responses. Their entire strategy relies on turning advanced technology against itself. But humans, we're messy, unpredictable. We make mistakes and learn from them. Most importantly, we know how to improvise. Commander Vex stepped forward, his cybernetic systems now modified to run on traditional power. "The Earth Defense Force has proposed a rescue mission to Proxima Beta. They believe they can extract the survivors." "With what ships?" The Methulian representative chimed in harmonic disbelief. "The quantum drive lanes are corrupted. Standard navigation is impossible." Kate's smile was fierce. Who said anything about standard navigation? She brought up schematics of modified Earth vessels. "We've retrofitted our ships with old-school nuclear drives and analog guidance systems. No quantum technology to corrupt. We'll plot courses the old way, with gravity assists and manual calculations." "That's suicide," the ambassador burbled. "The computational requirements alone are handled by human pilots who've trained their whole lives for this." Kate highlighted flight paths that seemed to dance between gravitational fields. "While your species were perfecting quantum computing, we kept training pilots. There's something about human spatial awareness that even your best AIs couldn't match." To demonstrate, she activated a simulation. The assembled aliens watched in stunned silence as human ships executed maneuvers that defied their understanding of physics, not by breaking the rules, but by bending them in ways their perfect systems never considered. "These trajectories," Vex observed, his artificial eyes whirring as they tracked the patterns. "They're like your Earth dance movements." "Ballet in space," Marcus added with a grin. "Turns out all those primitive human art forms taught us something about moving gracefully through chaos." A warning klaxon interrupted their discussion. Lieutenant Sarah Parker burst into the chamber, her face flushed with urgency. "Major, Archean forces detected approaching the Centauri sector. They're using a new kind of quantum disruption field." "Show me." The tactical display updated, revealing a massive dark front sweeping through nearby systems. But something was different about these readings. Kate studied the patterns, her mind racing. Then she laughed. "Major?" Zixis questioned, her robes pulsing with concern. "They're adapting too," Kate explained. "The Archons saw our rescue mission succeeding, so they're trying to copy our unpredictability. But they're doing it mathematically, following algorithms." She pointed to the rhythmic patterns in their movements. "They're trying to be unpredictable in a predictable way." "And that helps us how?" the ambassador demanded. "Because genuine chaos can't be manufactured." Kate began issuing orders through the old-style command network. Every human ship commander, every pilot, they'll each react differently to this threat. Real unpredictability, born from millions of years of evolution and individual experience. That's something the Archons can't copy. As if proving her point, the first wave of Earth ships launched from the lunar base, each taking a slightly different path into the void. From the outside, their movements looked random, almost reckless. But Kate saw the beauty in it, the intricate dance of humanity, each step improvised but purposeful. "Welcome to warfare without a manual," she told the stunned council. "Let's show them how primitive really fights." The Earth combat simulator wasn't designed for alien physiology. Kate watched with a mixture of amusement and pride as a Methulian crystal form attempted to navigate the virtual fighter controls, their crystalline appendages scattering rainbow light across the dim chamber. "You're thinking too precisely," she coached, adjusting the neural interface. "Don't calculate the trajectory. Feel it." "Impossible," the Methulian chimed in frustration as their virtual ship exploded again. "Our species evolved to seek perfect geometric patterns. This improvisation you speak of is exactly why the Archons can't predict our movements," Kate finished. "Again, this time, try remembering how your crystal matrix formed naturally, before your society engineered it into perfect shapes." Across the simulator chamber, other scenes of controlled chaos unfolded. Dr. Marcus Webb guided a group of Vortexians through basic evasive maneuvers, teaching them to swirl their gaseous forms in unpredictable patterns. Even Commander Vex had submitted to training, his cybernetic systems temporarily disabled to force reliance on organic instinct. "Major Mitchell," Lieutenant Parker's voice crackled through the old-style intercom. "Priority message from the Proxima Beta Rescue Fleet." Kate's heart raced as she pulled up the transmission on her tablet. The rescue mission had been her riskiest gamble yet, sending a mixed crew of humans and newly trained aliens into contested space. The message decoded into a video feed showing Captain James Rodriguez, his face streaked with sweat, but wearing a triumphant grin. "Mission accomplished, Major. 1,342 survivors extracted." But that's not the best part. He stepped aside to reveal the ship's bridge. Kate's breath caught. Human pilots worked alongside Confederation species, their movements synchronized in a deadly dance through space. A Zalaxian navigator called course corrections while a human gunner responded instantly, their combined reaction time devastating to the pursuing Archean forces. "They're learning," High Counselor Zixis observed, her robes pulsing with excitement as she watched over Kate's shoulder. "Not just mimicking, but truly understanding." "Better than that," Kate replied, noting the subtle variations in their tactics. "They're adding their own innovations. Look at how the Vortexian sensors are working with human intuition. They're creating completely new combat techniques." The video showed an Archean vessel attempting to trap the rescue fleet in a quantum singularity. Instead of following standard evasion protocols, the mixed crews responded with orchestrated chaos. Human pilots executed seemingly random maneuvers while alien crew members used their unique abilities to exploit gaps in spacetime the Archons never considered. The Confederation spent millennia perfecting predictable responses. Marcus commented, joining them at the display. But maybe perfection isn't about eliminating variables. It's about embracing them. A sudden alarm blared through the lunar base. Kate's tablet shifted to show new tactical data. The Archons had launched a massive counteroffensive, targeting every world where human-alien cooperation had succeeded. They're learning too, Kate muttered, studying the attack patterns. But they're still thinking linearly, trying to solve chaos with logic. She keyed the base-wide comm system. All training units, this is Major Mitchell. Real-world combat scenario incoming. Time to show the galaxy what you've learned. The response was immediate and beautiful in its disorder. Trainees rushed to their stations, each species moving according to their nature, but working in harmony. Crystalline beings refracted light for enhanced sensors, while gaseous forms provided instant environmental readings. Human instinct merged with alien precision to create something entirely new. We're still outnumbered, Commander Vex noted, his organic eye showing concern, while his cybernetic one calculated odds. Numbers don't tell the whole story, Kate answered, watching her unlikely students prepare for battle. The Archons see us as mathematical variables to be eliminated, but they don't understand that every human, every alien who's embraced this new way of fighting, they're not variables. They're wild cards. She turned to address the assembled forces, a mix of Earth's primitive warriors and the galaxy's most advanced species, all united in beautiful imperfection. Remember your training, she called out. Not the perfect formations or calculated responses. Remember the mistakes that taught you more than success ever did. Remember that chaos isn't your enemy, it's your ally. Now, let's show the Archons what happens when the most primitive and most advanced species in the galaxy learn to dance together. The discovery happened by accident. During a routine battle, Lieutenant Sarah Parker had been listening to classical music through her headphones, an old habit her superiors had long since given up trying to break. As Beethoven's Fifth Symphony reached its crescendo, the nearest Archon vessel suddenly wavered, its energy patterns disrupting in perfect rhythm with the music. Kate stared at the data readings in the lunar base's command center, hardly daring to believe what she was seeing. "Play it again," she ordered. The chamber speakers filled with thunderous classical music. On the tactical display, they watched as the recording affected not just one Archon ship, but an entire squadron. Their energy patterns fluctuated, their perfect quantum formations stuttering like dancers losing their step. Of course, Dr. Marcus Webb breathed, his glasses fogging with excitement. They're pure energy beings operating on quantum frequencies. And what is music but organized energy patterns? Not just music, Kate realized, her mind racing. Every form of human artistic expression, it all carries emotional energy, energy that doesn't follow quantum laws. She turned to High Counselor Zixis. We need every scrap of human culture we can get our hands on. Art, music, literature, dance, everything. The next few hours transformed the lunar base into something between a military command center and a cosmic art gallery. Holographic paintings lined the walls while symphony orchestras played through the communications array. Human literature was broadcast on all frequencies, Shakespeare mingling with Sun Tzu, love poems carrying the same weight as battle strategies. The effect on the Archons was devastating. Their energy forms, used to processing pure quantum information, found themselves bombarded with the complex, emotionally charged wavelengths of human creativity. Each human creation carried within it countless variations of thought and feeling, infinite possibilities that couldn't be predicted or controlled. "Look at this," Commander Vex called out, his cybernetic eye-tracking energy patterns. When we broadcast human music, their shield frequencies destabilize. But when we add Methulian crystal harmonics, the effect doubled, then tripled as they layered in more alien art forms. Kate watched as a ballet performance, projected into space by advanced Confederation technology, caused an entire Archon battle fleet to fall into disarray. The dancers' movements, graceful yet unpredictable, created ripples in space-time that the energy beings couldn't process. They fear what they don't understand. The Zelaxian ambassador observed, his surface reflecting a Van Gogh painting, and they cannot understand what cannot be reduced to pure logic. Humanity's greatest strength, Kate replied, watching as more Archon ships retreated from the artistic onslaught. We create beauty from chaos, find patterns in randomness, and express truths that transcend mathematical proof. But the Archons weren't defeated yet. As Kate's forces pressed their advantage, the enemy adapted, creating quantum shields that attempted to filter out the cultural attacks. They didn't understand that every human creation contained layers of meaning, nuances that couldn't be blocked by any filter. Major, Lieutenant Parker called out, "They're trying to analyze the patterns in our artistic broadcasts, attempting to predict. Then let's give them something new." Kate opened a channel to all Earth forces. "This is Major Mitchell. All ships, all stations. I want everyone to create. Paint, sing, dance, write, dream. Share your stories, your hopes, your fears. Show them what it means to be human." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Soldiers became poets, engineers turned painters, pilots composed symphonies in the midst of battle. Each creation was unique, carrying the distinctive energy of its maker's soul. The Confederation species joined in, adding their own artistic interpretations, creating a cultural fusion that defied quantum analysis. From her command post, Kate watched as a masterpiece unfolded in the space between stars. Human emotions, transformed into weapons more powerful than any quantum cannon, wove through the void. The Archons, for the first time, faced something they couldn't categorize or control: the infinite variety of the human spirit. "We are not primitive," she announced to her assembled forces. "We are artists, dreamers, creators of worlds that exist beyond physical laws. And now we will paint our victory across the stars themselves." Around her, human and alien alike continued their creative assault, proving that in the end, the most powerful weapons weren't built in laboratories or forged in quantum furnaces. They were born in the depths of the soul, where logic feared to tread. The Archons arrived at Earth in waves of darkness, their quantum vessels blotting out the stars themselves. Kate stood at the Lunar Command Center's viewport, watching humanity's homeworld gleam blue and defiant below. They'd known this battle was coming. The enemy couldn't ignore Earth's rising influence any longer. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of billions of lives hanging in the balance. 30,000 Archon vessels detected, Lieutenant Parker announced, her hands dancing across old-style tactical controls. "They're deploying in a quantum matrix we haven't seen before." Dr. Marcus Webb looked up from his analysis station. "They're learning from their defeats. No two ships are using the same frequency. They are trying to counter our artistic warfare." "Let them try." Kate opened a channel to the combined Earth Confederation fleet. "All vessels, this is Major Mitchell. Remember your training, but more importantly, remember who you are. Every human story, every alien evolution, every moment that brought us here, it all matters now." The response came in a chorus of voices, human and alien alike. Earth's defense grid hummed to life. A mixture of primitive nuclear weapons and advanced Confederation technology modified by human innovation. In orbit, ships moved into position, not in perfect formation, but in organized chaos, each commander adding their own interpretation to the battle plan. The first Archon strike came as a wave of quantum disruption, designed to shatter their defenses at the molecular level. But humanity had prepared for this. Massive speakers on the lunar surface began broadcasting a symphony composed by the combined efforts of human musicians and Methulian crystal singers. The quantum wave faltered, its perfect frequencies disrupted by the raw emotion carried in the music. "They're adapting," Commander Vex reported, his cybernetic systems processing the battlefield data. Multiple breach attempts detected in sectors 7 through 13. Kate watched as the enemy pressed their advantage, their numbers seemingly endless. But numbers had never been humanity's strength. "Activate the memory banks," she ordered. Across Earth's surface, special transmitters came online, broadcasting the collected experiences of humanity. Not just art and music now, but raw human memories: joy, pain, love, loss, triumph, and tragedy. The Archon's energy forms wavered as they encountered the complexity of human consciousness. "Major," Lieutenant Parker's voice cut through the chaos. "They're targeting population centers." Before Kate could respond, a Zalaxian ship moved to intercept, its captain executing a maneuver they'd learned from human dancers. The Archon weapons fire missed, striking empty space where mathematical probability said the ship should have been. "All ships, coordinate with ground forces," Kate commanded. "Show them what happens when you threaten our home." The battle evolved into something beyond traditional warfare. Human ships moved with passionate fury, their tactics born from millennia of conflict and creativity. Confederation allies added their own strengths. Vortexian vessels creating atmospheric disturbances that confused Archon sensors. Methulian ships refracting energy weapons through their crystalline hulls. But the enemy's numbers began to tell. Gaps appeared in Earth's defenses as ships fell, their crews fighting to the last moment. The Archons pressed forward, their quantum weapons tearing holes in reality itself. "They're breaking through," someone shouted as the first enemy vessels breached the atmosphere. Kate watched as an Archon ship descended toward New York, its weapons powering up for a killing strike. But then something unexpected happened. The city's inhabitants, instead of running, began to sing. The collective voice of millions rose up, carrying not just defiance but an offer of peace, of understanding, of the chance to create something new. The Archon vessel hesitated. "Now," Kate ordered, and a combined fleet struck from all sides, not to destroy but to contain. The enemy ship found itself trapped in a web of human emotion and alien technology, unable to process the complexity of what it was experiencing. "They're retreating," Commander Vex announced as the Archon fleet began to pull back. "Not just here. Reports coming in from all sectors. They're withdrawing completely." Kate studied the tactical displays, watching as the darkness receded from Earth's skies. "They finally understood," she said quietly. "We didn't just show them our strength, we showed them our humanity, our capacity for mercy even in victory." As the stars became visible again, Earth's defenders watched their enemy retreat, knowing they'd won not just through force of arms, but through the very traits that had once been dismissed as primitive. In the end, it was humanity's greatest weakness, their unpredictable, emotional nature, that had proved to be their greatest strength. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the Galactic Confederation's newly rebuilt Grand Chamber looked markedly different from its previous incarnation. Gone were the stark quantum crystal walls and mathematically perfect architecture. In their place stood a fusion of styles: human artwork hanging alongside Methulian crystal formations, Vortexian gas sculptures dancing between pillars that combined advanced technology with classical design. Kate adjusted her new admiral's uniform as she prepared to address the assembled delegates. The promotion had come with the unanimous support of both human and alien representatives, a concept unthinkable just 2 years ago. The reports from the former Archon territories are encouraging, Dr. Marcus Webb announced, now serving as Earth's chief sinological advisor. "They're responding to our cultural exchange initiatives. 3 of their energy collectives have even requested human artists in residence." Who would have thought? High Counselor Zix's muse, her robes shimmering with patterns inspired by human abstract expressionism, that the key to peace would be teaching quantum beings to appreciate jazz. The chamber filled as representatives from across the galaxy took their seats. Kate noted with pride how the rigid species segregation of the past had given way to mixed delegations. A Methulian crystal form floated beside a human diplomat, their surfaces reflecting each other's light in a deliberate artistic display. Vortexian clouds swirled around organic beings, providing comfortable atmospheric conditions while engaging in casual conversation. "Admiral Mitchell," Commander Vex approached, his cybernetic systems now augmented with human-designed emotional processors. The new defense fleet is ready for your inspection. Each ship represents a perfect. He caught himself and smiled, an expression he'd learned to appreciate, an imperfect blend of all our technologies. Kate nodded, remembering the long debates about the reconstruction. Some had wanted to return to pure quantum technology, others to rely solely on human methods. In the end, they'd chosen a harder but more rewarding path: genuine integration. The chamber recognizes Admiral Catherine Mitchell. The announcement echoed as Kate took the podium. The assembled delegates fell silent, their attention focused on the human who had helped reshape their understanding of advancement. 1 year ago, she began, we faced an enemy that believed perfect order was the height of evolution. The Archons saw our emotions as weakness, our creativity as primitive, our individuality as chaos that needed to be controlled. She paused, letting her gaze sweep the chamber. They weren't entirely wrong about the chaos part. A ripple of laughter spread through the delegates, even the most serious species having learned to appreciate human humor. We are chaotic. We're unpredictable. We make mistakes. But we've learned that these aren't flaws to be engineered away. They're the source of our greatest strengths. The grand display behind her activated, showing scenes from the past year. Human children teaching Methulian younglings to paint with light. Vortexian musicians collaborating with Earth composers to create entirely new forms of music. Former Archean collectives participating in poetry slams, their energy patterns shifting with newfound emotional understanding. The Confederation once prided itself on having evolved beyond primitive emotions. Kate continued. The Archons took that philosophy to its logical extreme. But true advancement isn't about transcending our nature. It's about embracing it, understanding it, and sharing it with others. She gestured to the chamber's new design. Look around you. Every piece of art, every unconventional architectural choice, every mixed delegation group, they all represent something the Archons couldn't comprehend. The beauty of imperfection, the strength found in diversity, the wisdom of learning from those we once dismissed. The chamber's lights dimmed, and a holographic display showed the new combined fleet in orbit. Ships of all designs moved in patterns that were neither purely logical nor completely random, but something gloriously in between. Today, we're not just rebuilding what was lost. We're creating something that has never existed before, a civilization that values both logic and emotion, both advancement and tradition, both perfection and chaos. The Archons taught us that there's strength in order, but we taught them that there's magic in disorder. As she concluded her speech, the chamber erupted in a very human display of applause, joined by crystalline chiming, gaseous swirling, and every other form of appreciation the assembled species could express. In that moment of joyful chaos, Kate saw the future they'd fought for. Not a perfect galaxy, but one perfectly comfortable with its imperfections.